All right, let's talk Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 2-1. That's the good news. The bad news is this offense still just isn't quite doing what I think you would want if you're a Jaguars fan. So let's get into what are the issues and what are the potential ways for them to, really get going. Again, weirdly, kind of their best offensive performance was their loss against Cincinnati. Granted, that might be Cincinnati's defense. And the Houston Texans have a good defense. So let's talk about just everything that happened, the good, the bad, and the ugly for the Jaguars. And in fact, this game started off very similar to what we've seen all season so far for the Jaguars. Inconsistent. You see right here, receiver trying to get into a gap in coverage on this play. Watch when it begins. It's Travis Hunter, who we've talked about. I made a film study on last week, saying I think he's playing pretty well in coverage, not getting much separation in the receiving game. And you see here again, we couldn't see the full route because of the broadcast angle, but the defensive back has jumped this route. This has a great opportunity of being a pick. Not the best route. Also, Lawrence, you have to read this and know not to make this throw. You see, luckily for Jacksonville, this was a dropped pick. It was Kalen Bullock, who did make a nice play on breaking for the ball. Give him credit. But yeah, so not the best start, and you're like, oh no, it's not ideal there. But then we go over here. So this is just after this situation. It's literally the next play after that. You have an out route against zone. You see how this could potentially work on this play. It's Brenton Strange who's going to be running the route, and he's going to do a very good job on this. Watch. Brenton Strange runs a really nice route. Setup route helps clear out underneath, and there's a window. Lawrence makes a great throw, and they get the completion. And it's like that two-play sequence is the Jaguars so far this season. You're seeing a lot of good, and you're just seeing the bad. It's been inconsistent, and that was not the only good throw from Lawrence. In fact, he had a handful of really nice throws in this game. This play is a small one, but one I really was impressed by. So it's a 2nd down and 3. You see it's zone coverage with a receiver going over the middle on this play. And really kind of the way this works is you try to hit in between multiple players who are covering over the middle of the field. Like watch, when Lawrence takes the snap, one of the defenders takes away one of the underneath routes a little bit too much, so there's a bit of a window. Not a huge one, though. Lawrence is going to have to get this ball there in a hurry, and to me, these are the plays where arm talent matters much more than, everyone thinks with a strong arm, down the field passing, right? But that's more about accuracy and timing. These routes are about timing and throw power, getting it there quickly. And Lawrence does exactly that and perfectly accurate on top of it, and they get a big completion. That doesn't look like a lot, right? But that's a tough throw to make, and Lawrence was able to do it. This one, another one, don't need to break it down. The zone, you see getting into gap and coverage on a 3rd and 5. Really nice throw on that one. Dyami Brown makes a nice route. So, you definitely saw the positives with Trevor Lawrence in this game. You did not only see positives with Trevor Lawrence in this game. So let's head over here. So this is another example of maybe, leaving some yards on the table, perhaps. It's a 3rd down and 6, and they're going to go for a deep shot, which is a bit aggressive, but hey, sometimes these plays can work, and sometimes you need a shot, especially in a game where the offenses have been kind of stagnant. And you can see how this works, right? You see that it's cover 6. You see the zones that these defenders are running, and essentially you have 2 deep routes. There's 2 defenders in the area who can cover those 2 deep routes, so you can get a one-on-one matchup down the field. Anytime you can do that, it's a good thing. Lawrence is going to take the snap. He looks in that direction, and this works as designed. You have a one-on-one matchup isolated down the field, so that is where Lawrence is going to decide to throw on this play. All this good. It's Parker Washington running this route. And you see this throw is just a bit off. Now, maybe that's a chemistry thing. Maybe they'll kind of get the hang of it. Maybe Lawrence thought Washington should go more over the middle. I think that's just a misthrow, to be honest. I think Lawrence didn't fully hit it the way he wanted to. And there was a little bit of pressure, but not enough to cause a misthrow. So I think he just let one get away from him. That's what I see. He had this one with Dyami Brown as well, where you see it just a bit closer towards the middle of the field and a bit out of Brown's reach there. So still getting the hang of maybe some chemistry of some of these new receivers, but also these are plays you would have liked to see him hit. Could have really changed this game. There was a couple drops as well. Parker Washington on this 2nd down and 4 is going to drop this pass. Brian Thomas is going to drop this one, and that's a key one. 3rd down and 4, kind of late in this game. If you get a drive going, maybe you can make it a 2-score game and ice things. So, yeah, got to clean that up as well. And that's easy, right? Start hitting some throws, start making some catches. All of a sudden, this offense looks a little bit different. That you can clean up. Although the pick here was a bad play. I mean, it was, especially given the game situation, right? It's 3rd and 10, but your defense is playing awesome. Texans offense can't get anything going. So, well, yes, you want to drive to make things work. Punting isn't the worst thing in the world given the game that you're in. But, again, if the play's open, hit it, right? And Liam Cohen's going to get into his bag of tricks because this is a zone coverage concept. That's what the Texans do. You see how the 2 routes you see on the screen are essentially setup routes. You're trying to force, with the deep route, the corner to stay deep. With the underneath route, the defensive back covering the flat towards the top of the screen, more underneath, more close to the line of scrimmage. Then you have another receiver who's going to kind of try and get into that gap that's now cleared out. And what's even more clever about this is you have the receiver you're going to look towards. He is in motion towards the bottom of the screen, even though that's not where he's going. That's a clever wrinkle. Lawrence takes a snap, and it feels less clever once you see what's down the field. Lawrence, again, this play, it's easier for us to see this because Lawrence had to throw with anticipation. But either way, this just isn't open. I mean, there's a defensive player, really, you have to kind of check it down right here because it's 3rd and 10. I would have loved this play on a 2nd and 10. I think 3rd and 10, probably, the defense is able to pick it up. I get why they did it. It's a clever play by Cohen. It just, better defense by the Texans. But for Lawrence, it's your job to notice this. He doesn't. He just goes on script, and that ends up being a pick, and that set up the Texans comeback. And listen, the Texans ultimately fumbled after they had tied the game, and they were looking to go ahead. Because of that, the Jaguars got one last chance. And in fact, let's talk about what they did, because this ultimately is, while they're still trying to figure out these mistakes, ultimately the Jaguars are still very much in it because of this drive by, Lawrence, and we'll get into it. So 3rd down and 6 right here. If you don't convert, again, you're giving the Texans the ball back. Are you going to get another stop here? Well, Lawrence takes the snap. Nothing's open down the field, but he looks over to, looks in front of him and realizes there is a lot of grass with no defenders in the area. As you see, he's going to scramble up, and not only is he going to scramble up and get the 1st down, you see playing physical, making sure he gets every yard he can get in this situation. And because of that, in many ways, the best play he made of the game was a rushing play, and he showed it on that play. And then going over here, again, Brian Thomas Jr. was kind of the other guy who was getting criticized with that drop on 3rd down. He hasn't been quite as good this season as certainly a lot of fantasy football owners were hoping, but also just, Jaguars fans were hoping for more. Well, in a key spot, 2 minutes left, 1st and 10, one-on-one matchup. The Texans are manning up right here. And first, you're going to see really well-ran route, doesn't give anything away, cuts over the middle. And this is what we saw last year, where he's just using that blazing speed to create mismatches. He's wide open. Lawrence puts it on him in stride. Thomas is able to run, pick up a ton of yards, get them around the 10-yard line. They ultimately punch it in shortly after, go up 17-10. Defense holds as it was doing all game, and they win the game. So some issues here, but ultimately, again, Lawrence starts hitting a higher percentage of his throws, misses less, and you catch the football on these plays, and then don't turn the ball over. Okay, you can't expect all of that to be cut out, but if you start fixing this stuff, things can go better. Again, for Lawrence on the season, 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That's not good enough, and even the turnover-worthy play rate is high. He has 6 turnover-worthy plays in 3 games. That's too much. But the good news is their defense is playing really well, and these are fixable issues, and if you can fix them, maybe that can put them in the right direction. So, yeah, that's what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.